Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events. We have a fascinating story to share with you, and it's all about the recent developments in Washington, D.C. It appears that President Trump has been quite busy with various construction projects, including a new $400 million neoclassical ballroom at the White House. However, this project has been surrounded by controversy, with some arguing that it requires congressional approval. A federal appeals court has recently ruled that the construction of the ballroom can continue temporarily, despite initial concerns. But that's not all. President Trump has also been involved in a separate project, a triumphal arch-inspired entrance to the White House, and has proposed architectural changes to the Washington Dulles International Airport. Additionally, he has signed an executive order requiring that new federal buildings with construction budgets of over $50 million be designed in classical or traditional styles. In another interesting twist, it's been reported that President Trump accepted tens of millions of dollars in donated steel from a foreign firm, ArcelorMittal, for his ballroom project. This has raised questions about potential conflicts of interest and whether this donation was linked to the White House's decision to revise tariffs that could benefit the company. As we explore these stories, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and evaluate the facts. We'll be keeping a close eye on these developments and providing you with updates as more information becomes available. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're continuing our exploration of global news and current events. In our previous segment, we discussed the ongoing conflict in Eastern Europe and its far-reaching implications. Now, let's shift our focus to a disturbing trend of mass arrests and imprisonment of Ukrainian civilians by Russian authorities. According to reports, up to 30,000 Ukrainian civilians are languishing in Russian prisons, with many facing trumped-up charges and unclear futures. The story of Serhiy Lykomonov, a retired army officer who vanished for nearly 2 months after being taken from his apartment in Sevastopol, is just one example of the many cases of alleged politically motivated persecution. Human rights groups, including Russia's Nobel Prize-winning organization, Memorial, have condemned these actions and labeled many of the detainees as political prisoners. The situation has sparked widespread concern and calls for international intervention to secure the release of these individuals. As we delve into this complex issue, it's essential to acknowledge the nuances and complexities involved. While Russia maintains that these arrests are necessary for national security, others argue that they are a blatant attempt to suppress dissent and intimidate the population. It's crucial to approach this topic with empathy and understanding, recognizing the human cost of these actions on families and communities. The story of Tetiana Zelena, who quit her job to fight full-time for her brother's release, is a poignant reminder of the personal toll of these events. As we continue to monitor this situation, it's essential to remain vigilant and advocate for the protection of human rights and the rule of law. The international community must work together to address these concerns and ensure that those responsible are held accountable. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, let's take a look at the latest developments in the Middle East conflict. Pope Leo XIV has been vocal about his concerns regarding the ongoing war between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. In a recent prayer for peace, the Pope urged leaders to end the violence, saying, "Enough of the idolatry of self and money, enough of the display of power. Enough of war." He also emphasized the importance of protecting civilian populations, particularly in Lebanon, where over 2,000 people have been killed in Israeli strikes. The Pope's comments come as Iran and the U.S. failed to reach a deal during talks in Pakistan aimed at ending the conflict. Despite this setback, Pope Leo remains committed to promoting dialogue and mediation, encouraging leaders to sit at the table of dialogue and mediation, not at the table where rearmament is planned and deadly actions are decided. As the leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics, Pope Leo's words carry significant weight, and his message of peace and diplomacy is being closely watched by people around the globe. As he prepares to embark on an 11-day tour of Africa, where he will focus on building bridges with the Islamic world, many are hoping that his efforts will help to bring about a more peaceful resolution to the conflict. That's all for today's Barber's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.